It's time for a scary story before bed. Tonight's story is called Fear the Walking Dead, Part 1. This is the 6-part story. Tonight we're just going to do Part 1. And it starts with a young man named Nick waking up from what seems to be a pretty bad nightmare. Nick is in an old abandoned church. It's huge, but it's really crappy. It is dirty, there's graffiti on the walls. It probably smells like pee and throw up.
Why was he in a church?
It's an abandoned church, and this is a place where homeless people, or more specifically, junkies, go. Nick wasn't just taking a nap, you see. He wasn't just sleeping because he's tired. Nick is something called a junkie.
Is he in the church in a nightmare or in real life?
In real life. Now, a junkie is somebody that pretty much all they do is do drugs. Nick doesn't have a job. He dropped out of school. All he does all day is steal money and bum around. And then when he gets some drugs, then he goes to the church and he does drugs and he takes a nap. And then he wakes up and he goes to get more drugs. That's Nick's whole life, right? So he wakes up from a nap and something is wrong. The whole church is quiet. So he gets up and he starts walking around. And it's a gross, nasty place anyway, but it's worse now. He sees there's blood smeared on the walls. And there's some guts on the ground. And he's looking for his girlfriend, this girl named Gloria. They do drugs together. And he sees Gloria. She's leaning over another junkie, and she's eating his face. And Nick calls out to her, so she turns around and looks at him, and now he sees she's got a big knife sticking right out of her side. She's obviously dead. But Nick doesn't know what zombies are. Nobody knows what zombies are. You know, on The Walking Dead, Rick Grimes was in a coma, and when he woke up, the zombie apocalypse had happened. Right now, what's happening is when Rick Grimes is in that coma. This is the very beginning of how the zombies started. So Nick doesn't know what a zombie is. He just sees his girlfriend eating some dude's face, and she's got a knife sticking out of her. So he turns around, and he just hauls butt, and he runs out of the church, and he runs into the road, and he runs right in front of a car, and he gets hit by a car. And sent to the hospital, where he's okay. He's a little dinged up, but he's not seriously injured.
Does he have parents?
Patience, darling, patience. A couple of cops are there asking him about what happened. You know how Jamie and I always tell you not to snitch? Nick is a junkie, and he's not a very nice person, but he doesn't snitch. He doesn't tell. So he doesn't even tell the cops what he saw. But then his mom shows up, and his mom is named Madison, and her boyfriend, sort of Nick's stepdad, is a guy named Travis. And also Nick has a sister named Alicia. Now, where Nick is a screw-up and he does drugs and he dropped out of school, Alicia is really smart. She gets good grades. She's got a nice boyfriend. She's getting ready to go to college. She's got everything together. So Madison, the mom, comes in. She kicks the cops out. She's like, I don't want you talking to my son, whatever. Then she yells at Nick because this sort of thing has happened before. He's been getting in trouble and doing drugs for a long time, and Madison and Alicia, they're pretty much sick of it. They're like, we're done with you. All you do is screw up. You keep doing drugs, whatever. Madison is a guidance counselor at the local high school where Alicia goes to school. Travis, he also is a teacher there. He teaches, I think, history. Travis decides to take the day off from work so he can stay in the hospital room with Nick and maybe find out more what happened. And Madison and Alicia, they go to school. So as soon as they leave, Travis starts talking to Nick and asking him, all right, now what really happened? And Nick kind of tells him, but here's the thing is, Nick had taken drugs and then fallen asleep and had a nightmare. And then when he woke up, he saw something so unbelievable that part of him thinks that it was just a nightmare. Part of him thinks that it couldn't possibly be true that his girlfriend would eat some dude's face, especially when she had a knife sticking out of her. So he tells Travis what he thinks he saw, but then he's like, there's no way I could have seen it. Travis decides to go to the church and see what's there, to see if it was real, if it really happened or not. Now, Madison and Alicia, they go to school. Madison, she's like one of the bosses of the school. She's a guidance counselor. She talks with kids. This is a school in a dangerous neighborhood. They have a metal detector at the front door. And this kid named Tobias comes in and sets off the metal detector. Madison says, "Come to my office. I need to talk to you." Tobias is not a popular kid. He's kind of fat, and he's kind of got zits, and his hair isn't cool, and he doesn't dress cool, but he's really smart. And she asks him why he brought a knife to school, because he set off the metal detector because he brought a knife. And he's like, "Listen, I've been reading online. I've been hearing these crazy news reports in all these different states, all over the country, all over the world. There's this sickness." And he starts talking about basically zombies. And he says, "Well, I'm scared. This is going to be coming to our town soon, so I want to have my knife with me." And she's like, "Tobias, you're nuts. Give me the knife, go to class, stop talking this craziness." So Travis goes to that church. It's very creepy because now it's getting dark. I don't know why anybody would go to an empty church at night with like no flashlight, having been told that there's face eaters there, right? But he goes in, he starts creeping around, and there aren't any bodies. He doesn't find any dead bodies, but he does find like a lot of guts and blood, and he knows that something bad happened there. He doesn't know what, but he knows something bad happened there. So he goes and he tries to tell Madison. He's like, "Listen, your son may not be crazy. He might have seen something." And she's like, "You don't understand. I don't care if he saw something. He was high. And I don't want him getting high anymore, so he can't come home." Travis keeps trying to convince her still. Around this time, they get caught in a traffic jam out on the highway, and there are a lot of like police helicopters flying overhead, and the next day you get to see some news footage of what happened, and there's like a car accident. And so when the cops and the paramedics show up to like pick up the wounded and dead bodies and load them in the ambulance, they start jumping off the stretchers and like attacking the paramedics and biting the cops. Remember, nobody knows what zombies are, but these are like some of the first zombies. It's starting to spread, and a lot of cops and paramedics and doctors are all getting infected. Now, Nick gets one of the nurses to uncuff him. He's cuffed to the bed because the cops don't want him to escape because they know he's a criminal. But he's kind of handsome, and he's very charming when he wants to be, so he gets this nurse to unlock him so that he can scratch an itch or something. And of course, the first thing he does is escape. He grabs some clothes, he sneaks out of the hospital, and the first thing he does is he calls his drug dealer, like, "Dude, I haven't done drugs in like a day. I really need drugs." And the guy's like, "All right, come meet me at this restaurant, I'll give you some drugs or whatever." So, Travis and Madison find out that Nick has escaped the hospital, and so they're driving all around trying to find him. They're coming up empty. So Nick meets with the drug dealer, and the drug dealer seems like really, really super nice, like suspiciously nice. He's like, "Oh, dude, no, I understand you don't have any money, you're in trouble with the cops, like your parents are out there looking for you. Just come on, let's go for a ride, and I'll give you some drugs, and we'll go someplace quiet." And Nick is like, so he's the mind of the junkie. He doesn't think that the guy is trying to set him up, right? So he's like, "Oh, sure, I'll go with you." So they drive out to like this huge empty canal, and then Nick notices that the guy has a gun, and he understands that the drug dealer is going to kill him before he gets the drug dealer in trouble. So they fight over the gun, and Nick shoots him, and he falls down dead. Nick totally freaks out. He grabs the guy's cell phone, and he just takes off running, and he calls the only person that he thinks might listen to him. Not his mom, but Travis. He calls Travis, his stepdad. He's like, "Something really bad happened. I need a ride. I need you to come get me, and you can't tell my mom." Travis is like, "Sure, dude, no problem. I won't tell your mom." Click, hangs up. Madison, Nick is in bad trouble. We got to go get him. So he like immediately tells the mom, which I think is actually a pretty smart move by Travis. He is dealing with the junkie. So they drive across town. They pick up Nick, And Nick tells him, oh, I got something horrible to show you. It was an accident. I accidentally shot this guy. So they drive out like through this tunnel, this underground tunnel, out into that canal where the drug dealer had parked his car. And like the gun is still laying on the ground and there's some blood, but the drug dealer's body isn't there. So automatically the parents think, oh, Nick, you're high again and you're lying to us again. And he's like, no, seriously, I killed him. He was dead. I'm sure of it. And then while they're talking, like in the background, you see the drug dealer like staggering towards them. And of course, because they don't believe in zombies, they're all like, oh no, he's really hurt. He's really sick. So Madison tries to help him, and of course, the zombie grabs her and tries to bite her face off. Travis manages to drag her out of the way, and then Nick finally does something right. He jumps behind the wheel of the car, he puts it in reverse, and he runs the zombie over. And then the zombie, like right in front of him, gets up again. So he puts it into drive, he slams on the gas, and he smashes the zombie, and the zombie goes flying out into the canal. So now, like all three of them, Travis and Madison and Nick, they're all looking at each other, and you see in the background there's like this huge city of Los Angeles just filled with tens of millions of people, tens of millions of possible zombies now. And they just sort of look at each other like, what's going on? And what's going to happen next? That's the end of Fear the Walking Dead Part 1. So what'd you think, girls?
Awesome. Dad,
Yeah.
do you know what I did?